How's it going, everyone? My name is Michael SK, and welcome back to Fate Stay Night Remastered. And in the previous episode, well, I guess Shirou and Rin are in a very similar situation where they have now both lost their servants. Saber was taken from Shirou. Archer kind of just decided to leave Rin just like that. He saw that, oh, Caster's a lot more of a dependable master to follow to win this thing, so that's the direction he decided to head on into. And we somehow survived that confrontation. I thought things were really going to go down, but I guess maybe not just quite yet. But we're getting there. Somebody did comment in the previous episode saying that things are going to ramp up through to the end of this route, which, perfect. I think we've gotten some really great setup here. And also, a very lovely moment between Shirou and Rin in the previous episode, and I'm all for it. It may not be episode 69 anymore, but it's okay. The funny number will maybe come around again. The sounds of clashing tableware echoes. It's past 10 p.m. I don't know how it ended up like this, but I'm eating a late dinner with Tosuka in the living room. By the way, the dinner was made by both of us. Princess Tosuka wanted to eat Japanese cuisine, but she didn't even know how to make miso soup. It really makes me worried what our school is teaching the girls in cooking class. I honestly wish there was a cooking class I could have taken. Honestly, guys, I've said it before, I burn water. I burn the most, simple of things. Things I should not be able to burn or mess up. Tosuka focuses on her meal. She must be hungry as her bowl is almost empty. But I don't have much of an appetite right now. It's partly because this isn't the time to be eating, but more so because I haven't said it yet. I haven't expressed my thoughts to Tosuka, who told me that as she left. I put my chopsticks down and look at Tosuka.
Nani?
She urges me as she sips on her miso soup. It puts my spirit down, but I put strength in my abdomen and refusing to lose. I said, ready for Tosuka's rebuttal. But Tosuka gives an absent-minded answer and finishes the food in her bowl. She looks straight at me. It's as if she sees through a part of me that even I don't know about with integrity, and approves of me fighting. Tosuka averts her gaze a bit. I don't know why, but anyway. Well, at least she cares. She takes a deep breath, after getting ready for some reason. Well, we gotta take whatever victories we can, right, guys?
私はそういうわけだし、 そっちだって一緒にいても問題ないでしょ、実際。
Tosuga hands me her bowl. How long did it take for me to realize that she's asking for seconds?
ああ、もちろん。遠坂がどんなに横暴でも望むところだ。
That's not how I would have put it, but I take the bowl, open the rice cooker, swing the rice paddle, and hand it back to her with an extra portion.
いいけど、お腹減ってるし、ご飯美味しいし。
Tosuga starts eating the mountain of rice. I let out a smile. I bet I'm eating with a really happy expression. But I can't put my smile away even if I'm aware. I'm so happy right now, so let me smile like a fool for a while. Yeah, come on. Well, now we're drinking tea together after dinner.
つまり投影には投影なりの限度ってものがあるわけ。一見イメージを形にするっていう何でもありに見えるけど、投影にはいろいろと独自のルールがある。その制約の中で一番わかりやすいのは投影物の損傷、存在における強度ってやつよ。
Tosuga puts up a finger while she drinks her tea.
存在における強度。何？幻想なるものの存在に耐えられない軽さってやつ？
I sip on my green tea and tilt my head in response.
何も知らないようでいてつまんない言葉知ってるのね、あなた。けどまあ当たらずとも遠からずかな。投影は自己のイメージからそれに沿った本物を完璧に複製する。これに例外はないわ。自分の中で完璧でなければ投影はできない。新作の影である以上、一部の隙も許されないのが投影魔術よ。だから基本的に投影によって生み出されたものは自己のイメージ通りの強度を持つわ。幻想という点においてはこの時点で完璧なのよ。加えて投影する術者のイメージ、知識が本物に近ければ近いほど現実においても完璧になるわけ。
ちょっと待った。それはおかしい。俺アーチャーの剣を投影しただろ。けどそれはクズキに壊された。いくらクズキの拳にキャスターの強化がかかってるからって宝具を壊せるほどじゃない。ってことは俺が投影したアーチャーの干渉と爆矢はオリジナルに数段劣るってことじゃないのか。
That's what I've been assuming.
はい、いいところに気がつきました、エミヤくん。それが投影の限界、存在における強度ってやつよ。いい？投影はあくまで投影、想像じゃない。投影を作り上げるのは術者のイメージだけだから、イメージそのものにほころびが生じた時、本物と同じ性能であろうと無産するの。
イメージにほころびが生じる？それも変じゃないか。イメージが間違っていたらそもそも投影はできないんだろ？
ええ、だからほころびが生じるのは投影した後になるわ。
Is it like hesitation? Well, I guess there can't be hesitation, but I guess like denial somewhere or questioning whether or not you did it right, or you notice that something is not correct and therefore it all falls apart?
そうね。例えばシローが絶対に折れない名剣を投影したとするでしょ。
I nod. Tosuga nods in satisfaction.
けど絶対に折れない剣なんてものはない。その剣の表現方法、伝承、売り文句などに絶対に折れないというパーソナリティがあるだけで、実際はそれを上回る幻想にぶつかれば刃こぼれぐらいするし、折れることだってある。
Okay, I get that idea.
それ折れた時点で俺のイメージが間違っていたってことにならないか。俺は折れない剣を作ったんだから。
I think it's more so that, like, sure, you know, visually and everything else, it probably totally comes out how you'd imagine, how you are capable of projecting it. But the thing is, you can't project a sword that can hold up to those qualities. So once it actually does begin to chip, wear in whatever way, the image is gone.
ならない。投影が成功した時点で形の上での間違いはないんだし、そもそも折れない剣なんて名前みたいなものでしょ。実際に折れない剣なんてないんだから。けどシロ、 あなたがイメージしたものは絶対に折れない剣よね。これが現実で折れちゃった場合、投影されたものは嘘になるのよ。それは剣が折れたからじゃないわ。あなたがイメージしたものは折れない剣。それが折れてしまった時点で、シローの中の折れない剣と今折れてしまった剣は別物になる。あなたと現実、その計りが崩れてしまうから。
So to sum it up...
よし。つまり、俺は折れない剣を想像して投影した。けど、実際に投影した剣は戦闘中に折れてしまった。その時点で、俺自身がその剣を、なんだよ、実際は折れちまうじゃないか、この剣と否定してしまって、結果として投影したものは消えるってことか。そのイメージの齟齬によって。
冴えてるじゃない。ええ、つまりはそういうこと。あなたはアーチャーの剣を投影した。あなたの中であれがどんな位置づけだったかは知らないけど、シロー自身はクズキの攻撃で壊れるような剣をイメージしてはいなかった。けど実際に剣は破壊されてしまった。その時点であなたはその剣をこんなのはアーチャーの剣じゃないと思ってしまったのよ。
Ah, it's more of like a subconscious thought. It's not something that he was thinking like in the narration that we always read here, but in the back of his mind, he saw that his creation did not match up to the actual swords themselves, and therefore the image was completely gone.
で、作り上げられた投影は術者の否定によって存在強度を失い、元の空想に戻ったってわけ。
Okay. No, I think I'm fully in agreement with all of this, and maybe why projection worked so damn well when we saw it in the Fate route. Well, one, Shirou wasn't, losing half of his body, going numb or whatever every time that he did it, but more so, or, just being very unwell after, but more so that he had Saber by his side and had a clear image of the sword that he was actually projecting because of the dreams that he was having. So he was able to put all the qualities together so the projection was a whole lot more perfect, and therefore he wouldn't lose that image as he continued to use the sword after it projected. I see even projected weapons can break, but it's not the enemy that makes the projected weapon disappear, but yourself. When the difference between your image and reality becomes too big to amend, the projected weapon disappears. Most of all, it is because the one who created it stopped believing in that illusion.
わかった？だから投影魔術はまず設計図から入るの。あとは材質と性質、歴史なんかも考慮すべきね。そのあたりから固めていけば、多少現実でイメージと違ってもすぐに消えるなんてことはないでしょ？
それならなぜそれを作る気になったのかってのが最初じゃないか？材料と技法だけじゃダメだ。今日の夕飯だってまず遠坂が和風が食べたいって言ったから始まっただろ？なら創作する上での発端から始めないと。
Oh, Tosaka is stunned. Tosaka stares at me. I sip my tea and tilt my head in wonder.
まあ、なんでこんな話になったんだっけ？
そういえばそうよね。私たち確か今後の作戦を話し合ってたような。
We did kind of just jump into the idea of projection. Like, we just completely went towards that, seemingly out of nowhere. Yeah, that's right. As we were talking about what we should do moving forward, Tosaka
シロ、本格的に投影魔術をやってみない？
said an irresponsible thing like that.
思い出した。不確定な要素に希望を持っちゃうぐらい行き詰まってたんだっけ？
まあそうだな。第一、俺の投影なんて剣を作れる程度だ。それも今まで役に立ったことなんてないんだから大した戦力にならないだろう。
Oh, she's looking at me with weird eyes again. I wonder why she makes that expression when we talk about projection magecraft.
まあいいわ。もう一度状況を確認しましょう。
If I recall, she didn't seem all that, fond of it in the Fate route whenever we were talking about strengthening, projecting. And what was the other one? I've already forgotten it.
目下のところ、敵はキャスター。あいつだけなら大したことはないけど、白兵戦に長けたマスターと、あっち側についたアーチャーに守られている限り手は出せないわ。
I will say it's so interesting that our main antagonist this time around appears to be Caster, where in the previous iteration it was the previous archer. However, the previous archer is still around. Honestly, there's a lot of enemies still around. Berserker is still around. I think Berserker was probably a top antagonist for us. Ilya and Berserker were really, the dangerous ones to deal with in the first part of the story.
状況は刻一刻と悪くなっていくわけだけど。
ああ、けど、アーチャーはともかく、セイバーはまだキャスターの自由にはなっていない。
Yeah, but she is suffering.
それが正気といえば正気だろう。セイバーが完全にキャスターの軍門に下ったら、それこそ俺たちに勝ち目はない。
Besides, I won't let that happen. She told me to run. For the sake of Saber, who said that while crying, I can't let Caster have her way.
そういうことね。それじゃあ意見のある人は挙手。シロ、なんかいいアイデアある？
A plan that will be a solution to the current situation. If there's a way to oppose Caster, it's... Ah, fuck. There is no such thing. The only thing is to break through from the front. We can't break through from the front. Is there any secret passage in the church? It's impossible with just the two of us. We'll cooperate with other masters. Honestly, who else is there really to cooperate with? There's Ilya and Berserker, but I don't know how that's going to go down. There is Shinji, but they're not aware that he's actually still in the fight. And the rest is all underneath Caster. She has Assassin herself, now, well, trying to get Saber, and also Archer. Am I missing anybody? Lancer is still around somewhere. We don't know who his master is, but we learned that in the Fate route, that Kotomine actually killed the master and kind of took Lancer for himself. I don't really know what to do here. What is the best idea? I don't think we should be trying to break through from the front. That's not going to work. And if we can't break through from the front, well, what are we going to do if there's a secret passage? What do we do when we're in? Honestly, I think we are truly fucked if it's just the two of us. Let's see if we can cooperate with others. They aren't opponents that we can take on by ourselves. There are 3 enemies, so we need at least one more person to cooperate with us. In that case, our choices are limited. People who are also mages and have a reason to fight Caster. That is none other than another master.
トサカ、怒らないで聞いてくれ。他のマスターとは協力できないかな。
いいわ。その心は？口にするからには何か算段があるんでしょ？
I was so worried that she was going to get pissed off actually as well. I didn't think she was going to like this answer, but what else can we do?
いや、そういうわけじゃないんだが、今のキャスターの状態は他のマスターにとっても無視できないだろう。なら、今回だけってことで手を組めるかもしれないと思って。
ええ。実は私も同じことを考えてた。
Oh, thank God.
てっきりシロを反対すると思ってたから黙ってたんだけどね。
She says with a reluctant expression. She must not like the idea deep down, but she must know that's the only option we have.
となると、残るマスターは2人。ランサーのマスターとバーサーカーのマスターね。ランサーのマスターは不明のままだから交渉のしようもないけど、バーサーカーのマスターであるイリアスフィールなら可能性はあるかもしれない。
And let's actually not forget here, there's a whole lot to Ilya that we don't know, guys. Like, I was bringing this up in the previous route, that I was really excited and looking forward to whatever Ilya's got going on. Sure, she's supposed to act as like a part of the Holy Grail, coming to fruition, but she's still a person. She still has a life to live. Even so, it was kind of brought up for this, very specific reason, to be a part of the Holy Grail and to be a part of the war. But there's also, I feel like there is a connection between her and Shirou, more than just like her interest in him. I think there's more to whatever in the past, maybe 10 years or so. I don't know. So I want to say maybe this could be an opportunity to look into that. My vote would probably be to go towards Ilya, but I don't know. Berserker's Master. The girl in white and the rock-like giant that I met on the first day. Her actions were dangerous, but I don't think she's cruel. No, she is. She is, 100%.
話し合いに応じてくれそうだ。見返りに無茶な条件も出してきそうにないし。
バカ。シローにとっちゃあいつが一番やばいのよ。あいつ、初めっからシローしか見てなかったもの。私はともかく、あんたはどんな目に遭わされるか分かったもんじゃないわよ。
Well, we saw a couple of bad endings in the fate route where, you know, he ended up trapped in like a doll or something. Like his, you know, consciousness got moved from his body and into like something else. I don't know, there's some crazy shit going on over in her mansion.
なんだよそれ。俺はあの子と一度しか会ってないんだ。そんなことになるわけないだろう。
そんなことになったら交渉なんて破棄に決まってるじゃない。バカ。
And she looks away and then chugs her tea.
けど、今はイリアスフィールにかけるしかないわね。キャスターの正体がアーチャーの言う通りなら、間違いなくバーサーカーは天敵だし。
Oh wait, that's right. Her identity. Do we know it? No, not Archer. Caster. No, we don't. We don't have any hero info on her either. The same thing with Archer, but I feel like we're getting a lot closer. Yeah, we don't know who Lancer's master is, and I don't know if we ever will know. Alrighty.
何しろ生前の知り合いだもの。キャスターの手口なんて知り尽くしてるでしょ。
I think somebody actually brought up in the comments that we could have some information on Caster, but not yet.
私たちはその間にクズキ一人を攻略すればいい。
そりゃ理想論だけど。トサカ、キャスターはバーサーカーと関係があるのか？
ええ。アーチャーが言ってたのよ。バーサーカーの正体はヘラクレスだって。キャスターが本当にあの希代の魔女なら、アルゴーセンつながりでバーサーカーとは面識があるかもしれない。私が綺麗に苦手意識を持つのと同じ。世の中にはね、どうしたって苦手なやつっているもんなのよ。
True that. Huh. But Tosaka, I'm sure anyone would dislike that priest.
じゃあ決まりだな。けど、どうやってあの子を見つけようか。あれ以来出てこないけど、あれだけの魔力を持ってるなら、隠れていようと見つけ出せるだろ。なのに見つからないってことは、この町にはいないってことじゃないのか。
でしょうね。イリアスフィールはずっと遠くから聖杯戦争を眺めて楽しんでるんでしょ。
ずっと遠く？キャスターみたいに竜道寺から町を監視してるのか？
Kind of. Not really, though.
さあ、けどどこにいるかは見当がつく。昔父さんから聞いたことがあるのよ。アインツベルンは郊外の森に別荘を持ってるって。
Okay, there we go. She says with a tense voice, a villa, that stands in the forest on the outskirts. I can tell how dangerous the place is just from the way that Tosaka is acting. I take it that's our next destination then. I mean, I've got no other ideas. I go back to my room and lie down. Sleepiness spreads to my whole body as soon as I do. I stare at the dark ceiling. We're going to Ilyasvale. The girl in white's hideout tomorrow. No matter what kind of negotiations take place, it's obvious that it will become a trial of strength. Tosaka suggested that we take a nap before we head over, since we won't be able to achieve good results if we go with tired bodies.
夜明けまであと5時間。そうなったら、あの子と話し合いをしなくちゃならない。
The young master that appeared in front of us on the night I became a master. If Saber's an excellent servant in all aspects, then Berserker is specialized when it comes to battle. There's no servant that can match Berserker simply in terms of battle.
そんな相手とどう話し合えばいい?
Saying it makes me believe that it's impossible to negotiate with them. However, strangely, I don't feel any uneasiness. I feel like that Emiya kid will understand if we talk to her. Just like Tosuka, I'm sure she can differentiate her enemies and allies as a mage, but I feel like she's a decent kid in a different regard.
まったく。まだ話したこともないくせに、希望的観測にも程がある。
I mean, we learned a little bit about her outside of her just being absolutely batshit crazy for a child, but, you know, with murderous intent and all. It was before we actually got kidnapped by her, and also once everything was, you know, said and done and she was kind of hanging out with us over here at Shirou's place. She didn't seem all that bad, and it was actually very interesting learning a bit about her. I bet she would flame me saying that it's a convenient fantasy. But what's wrong with believing that? Is it weird to have hope for someone who you don't know and are about to meet? I realize that I'm gritting my teeth. The man that told me to drown in my ideals betrayed Tosuka in front of my eyes. A guy with that much trust and power changed his beliefs that easily? I feel my heart start to sink. No, is it freezing? My mind freezes just thinking back at his actions. I'm angry. I can't forgive him for betraying Tosuka, out of all people. I can't forgive him for abandoning his ally, out of all people. I will never be like that. Even if that had been the very best action to survive, and it ends up being the correct path, I will never do something like that. His actions have been getting on my nerves. He told me not to talk about ideals. I rebelled against him when he said that I can't save everything. Even then, I agreed somewhere in my heart. His words are correct. The hero of justice that my old man talked about was just a pipe dream. And I accepted the fact that I have to become like him if I want to get as close to that ideal as possible. I've been denying it, even though I had accepted it in my mind. But this time isn't that kind of level. I can't accept him. I can't accept the action that he took no matter the circumstances. I won't be able to keep standing if I approve of it. My words don't disperse into the night and remain in the room. A few more hours until dawn. I keep repeating those words in my mud-like slumber. Oh man, the next day is going to be pretty interesting then. It's going to be a fun one. Whatever's going to happen. But I'm excited nonetheless. Looks like we have a little bit of a interlude to start off. Is it going to be a dream or an actual interlude, though? 13 versus Berserker. What does that mean? Oh boy, what do we have in store? Yep, we are starting off with a little bit of an interlude. But we're on the 13th chapter. I mean, we are running out of days, I'm sure. She ponders in the dark by herself. It has already been a day since she attacked the church and killed the priest. It has been a day since she declared that she will find it no matter where it is hidden, if it exists. It may not be the case for other servants, but there is no way someone as versed in magecraft as her cannot find a holy relic like the Holy Grail. Then there is only one answer. The Holy Grail never existed in this church to start with. Letting out a small sigh, she puts her finger on her temple. When she closes her eyes, the heavy darkness weighs heavily on her whole body. That is simply a scream. It is not someone else's. The scream comes from her body and mind, telling her that she is in a critical state of fatigue. It has already been a month since she was summoned, and she's been here for a while then. During that time, she has done her best just to win. Her master is an ordinary person without a magic circuit, and she herself is the weakest of the servants. In order to make up for that shortcoming, she abused magecraft that was prohibited. She has been exploiting the citizens. She's been manipulating the ley line using human sacrifices and the threads of magical energy that she's placed throughout the town. That is the cause for why she was called a witch when she was alive. But she has never used them before. She should have never used them, and she had no intention of doing the forbidden. So, why did she end up using them for such a meaningless kill fest? She became a heroic spirit for her own revenge. However, she understands that it is meaningless to use the magecraft that diminished her to being a witch. She only uses trivial magecraft. It was her creed to inflict certain curses that people referred to as disasters. They could cause people to destroy themselves with their own greed and return to their true selves. That was all the revenge she could manage. So what caused her to stray from the path so much?
すべては聖杯のため。あらゆる望みを叶える聖杯なのだから、気が違うのは当然です。
That is a lie. She knows the true identity of the Holy Grail. She has known what the thing is, and for what objective servants like her are summoned for a long time. It is true that most witches can be granted by the Holy Grail that appears in the town. It could allow her to stay in this world as a physical entity instead of as a heroic spirit, thereby allowing her to live a second life as a human. However,
バカね。そんなことに何の意味があるというの。
then what is her wish? She mutters and closes her eyes. She empties her mind. For a moment, she temporarily lets her guard down and rests her mind. She hears the sound of rain. It was a moonless night. Her empty heart wanders in the surrounding pitch-black darkness. That is where she met him. With a bloody body and frozen limbs, that coincidence was a miracle among miracles. It took place at the mountain that houses Ryoto Temple. Falling rain. She wanders aimlessly in the gloomy, dense forest. She leaves behind traces of blood. In her hand is the dagger that breaks contracts. The purple robe was wet from the rain, and her limbs had turned white from the winter rain. She staggers around holding on to the trees for support. She walked on, dirtied with mud, her breath ragged, reaching out her hand as if asking for help. She did not look like her usual self that is always composed. No, there were not even any remnants of magical energy. She's exhausted. There is only a fistful of magical energy left in her. For a servant, magical energy is like the body that allows them to exist. But she was losing all of her magical energy because her master was not supplying her with any. But that was only natural. She killed her own master just now. That is the sole cause for her exhaustion. She, the servant known as Caster, was trying to disappear in this mountain as compensation for obtaining freedom. A dry laugh. It is funny that her body is falling apart after she stabbed her vulgar master in the back. Moreover, it is also funny how she underestimated her connection with her master. She had done well. Her master was a legitimate master. He was in his 30s, had an average build, and didn't have many notable characteristics. He didn't have any intention to fight, but dreamed only of winning. He was a man that only waited for the self-destruction of the other masters in the shadows. The man didn't trust Caster. He disliked Caster as a skilled mage, and he insulted her for being inferior to other servants. She gave up on him after a few days. She acted as an obedient servant and continued to fulfill the man's self-esteem. As a result, she made him use up his command spells on simple meaningless things. She told him he did not need his command spells. She made him believe that she would pledge her loyalty to her master even without the command spells. In conclusion, it was his fault for believing her. The master used his 3 command spells on meaningless things, and he was killed by Caster at that moment. It was easy. It was unpleasant for her contract with that man to still exist, so she finished him off with the contract breaker. But she had made a mistake. Servants exist using the supply of magical energy from their master. But it isn't just about obtaining magical energy. Servants are only allowed to exist in this age because they are connected to a human from this age. In other words, to lose one's master, their passport to this age, means being deported to the outside world. However, one would not normally be this exhausted. This is the curse that her master left. Her master did not approve of Caster, a mage that is more skilled than him. Therefore, he always kept her magical energy supply at a level below his own. Well, that's stupid. The amount of magical energy that a human possesses is not enough to keep a heroic spirit in this world. She would normally be able to last 2 days even if she lost her master. But this time is different. Her magical energy was drastically decreasing with every second, and she starts to see the end. Probably a few more minutes. She will disappear if she doesn't find the next master to make a contract with. She is going to disappear before she could even fight, as a pitiful servant that got summoned just to be trampled on, unable to accomplish anything at all. It was vexing. It was vexing, but it was not a big deal, because it was always like that. She was always treated unfairly. She was always someone else's tool, and she was never understood by anyone. Yes, her life was always controlled by someone else. Her mind was destroyed at a young age in order to save Jason, a hero chosen by the gods. Just for the sake of the hero the goddess of beauty happened to favor, the goddess cursed her to blindly, to blindly love a man that she did not know. With a blank mind, she betrayed her father and even her own country. She has no recollection of anything that happened afterwards. After everything was over, the girl who was a princess was in an unfamiliar country. The girl who betrayed her father, the king, for a man. The witch who cut apart her own brother and mercilessly threw the pieces into the sea. The man who wished for that in order to become king, or to become the king, cast her aside, saying that he could not marry a witch. She was taken to an unfamiliar country while she was still being manipulated, was labeled as a witch, and the only person that she could rely on threw her away. That is her origin. She had nothing to be blamed for, and the people around her understood that. Despite that, the people still demanded that she continue to play the role of a witch, an evil to protect the king, an evil to be on the receiving end of dark superstitions. They wanted a convenient scapegoat that they could blame for any disaster. That system has not changed. Humans desire an easily understandable evil so that they can reassure themselves of their own goodness. In that regard, she was the perfect scapegoat. The father she could rely on was in a distant country. There was not a single person who defended her, so the people could comfortably blame her for things. Oh, that's a fun sight. How they are poor, how they hate others, how people are ugly, even how people die. They decided that everything was the witch's fault. That's why she just accepted it. Since she can only live as a witch, she decided to live like a witch. She just swore that she would show them how ugly the thing they desired and celebrated was. If people do not know their ugliness, then so be it. They can stay ignorant, go to hell for their own crimes, and suffer forever. They will not be able to get out of hell. They can only suffer as criminals for the rest of their lives, since they do not know what crimes they have committed. That is the meaning of existence that she has imposed for herself. The role that they gave to the girl, who had been called a witch and never had free will. Well, that's fun. But something like that, well, it's not something that someone wished for. That is the same for her. She just continues to seek revenge without any wishes of her own. Yeah, until she met this stranger at this moment. A rustling sound. She glares ahead while struggling to remain conscious. It is midnight. What kind of human would come into this forest? It was a heavy voice. She did not even have the composure to check who it was. She just thought it was all over. She had no power to use magecraft. Her purple robe might have looked like a coat, but she was covered in blood from the waist down. A woman covered in blood is hiding in this rain. It was obvious that this human would do what this human would do just from seeing that. They would run away first. What would they do after that? They would either report it or pretend they hadn't seen it. I'd probably do the latter, honestly. You know, just my imagination, it's whatever. Either way, it did not matter to her, as she could not move as she wanted to. That caused the last of her spirit to give out. Her final moment was lonely and cold, just like the end of her true lifetime. Or so she thought. When she regained her consciousness, she was at that place. Sitting in front of her was that human, that man that she had met in the woods.
起きたか。事情は話せるか。
Those were his first words. When she watched the man with blank amazement,
迷惑だったのなら帰るがいい。忘れろというなら忘れよ。
the man tells her in a tone of voice that does not change. That was how she met her master, Soichiro Kuzuki. Kuzuki was a strange man. Should he be called a ghost? He had no reason to live, but he had no reason to die. He was just there, and since he existed, he just did what was given to him. He had no self. That was her first impression of him, so she thought that it would be easy to turn him into a puppet. She gradually realized that that was a mistake. Soichiro Kuzuki has no past. He has no self because he has no past, but it does not mean that Kuzuki himself is empty. In reality, Kuzuki was a sincere man. He easily accepts her when she told him that she wanted him to be her master, and when she revealed her identity.
このような話を信じるのですか?
今のは嘘なのか?
Of course, if she replies to him that it is the truth, well, then he would accept it. She was able to stay in this world by gaining a new master and was able to return to her role as a witch. Even now, she thinks that that was a miracle. She would have disappeared before she awakened if she had not been taken to Ryoto Temple. Ryoto Temple is a demonic place for servants, but it is a perfect place for summoning once inside. The bounded field that surrounds Ryoto Temple is useful for keeping any inhuman beings inside from disappearing. She was saved right before she was going to disappear because she was brought to Ryoto Temple. If it had been a different place, well, she would have vanished after being taken there. As a result, she found the best ley line and had an impregnable defense. She was easily able to take over Ryoto Temple, figured out the mechanism of the Holy Grail, and summoned Assassin as the fifth servant. But such things are trivial matters. She was certainly lucky that night. Many miracles saved her, and now victory is within her sight. But none of it is worth her thanks. If there were nothing, well, she would have just been just as content to give up. There we go. There was just one thing that was really important. A very small matter that is not important for anyone else. The coincidence that she was able to meet Soichiro Kuzuki is a miracle beyond belief. Yeah, it is strange that he was even out there. I'm a little curious about that one. But even that's not going well. No, she sighs that nothing she does goes well. Her master won't be happy even if she does such a thing like this. He has not had any interest in the Holy Grail from the start. If he had a clear wish, she would do her best to grant it, but Soichiro Kuzuki has none. A one-sided relationship. They do not get along well. Even the fact that their relationship is like that shows things aren't going well.
ミイラ取りがミイラになったか。希代の魔女というのも案外脆いものだな。
She turns to the intruder. It is not her master standing there. It is the knight in a red cloak, Archer, whose identity is still unknown.
アーチャー、あなたには外の見張りを任せたはずですが。
ああ、それがな、ざっと見たところ、周囲に敵という敵がいない。退屈を持て余してね。
それはそうでしょうね。私たちの敵はバーサーカーだけよ。それもセイバーさえ陥落すれば、こちらから撃って出るだけ。
So are
あ
we
なたが
just
私たちに寝返った時点で、もう敵なんていないのよ。
are we just not considering Lancer here?
あなたもそれが分かっていたからこそ、こちらに着いたのではなくて。
さて、どうかな。私はあのマスターと契約を切りたかっただけとは思わないか。あのマスター以外なら契約者は誰でもよかったと。
Archer's frivolous talk has some truth in it. But what does that mean? Does that mean Archer had no intention of betraying, but betrayed his master only because he wanted to break his contract with Rin Tosuka?
そう。小娘のおもりはごめんということ。確かに私たちサーバントは 総じてマスターに不満を持つわ。
いや、召喚者として彼女は完璧だった。ただ少しばかり狂いが生じただけだ。それとキャスター、一つ忠告しよう。あらゆるサーバントが君と同じだとは思わないことだ。少なくともセイバーとバーサーカーは主に不満を抱いてはいなかった。正しい英雄というものはね。
何を今さら。ねじ曲がったマスターだからこそねじ曲がった英霊を呼ぶ。
That is right. The quality of a servant changes depending on the summoner. Summoners with dark shadows in their mind cannot summon heroic spirits who are on the side of light. In that regard, she and Ryder are not heroic spirits. A twisted summoner calls for twisted heroic spirits. Just as Ryder was once a beautiful being, so too was Caster once a pure being. It is ironic that the heroic spirit that Caster summoned was just a fictional hero.
しかし考えてみればおかしな話だな。君やライダーは英霊に敵対するものだろう。にもかかわらずサーバントとして選ばれている。まあ聖杯には善悪の区別はない。力のある人間霊なら誰であろうと組み上げるということか。
いいえ、本来そんな英霊としての側面もあるものなんて混ざり物は選ばれない。この戦いがおかしくなったのは3度目からよ。それまでは私やライダーのような英霊は呼ばれなかった。
Interesting. That does not concern her now. She is also not interested in the true nature of the Holy Grail. Her mission as the servant that goes by Caster is only to win this war. She is not interested in what comes after. No, to be honest, that is not the end that she wishes for.
無駄話はここまでよ、アーチャー。持ち場に戻りなさい。あなたが何を考えているかはどうでもいいわ。あなたはすでに私のサーバント。その命は私の手の中にある。
了解した。では従順なサーバントらしく主の期待に応えるとしよう。
The knight in red goes up the stairs with an unchanging tone of voice. She watches him in silence and takes a deep breath. One more day until Saber surrenders. She has not been able to find the Holy Grail as of yet, but she will be one step closer to the end once Saber joins her ranks. What will happen once the war ends? Caster shall make every wish come true with that power, continuing to live as a witch just as she had sworn to when she was alive. Wouldn't be so bad. But there will be no reason once the war ends. Even if she still has the will, her owner will have no reason to be her master anymore.
あと少しで聖杯はこの手に収まる。
Caster extends her pale hand into empty space. Her long and hard work is about to be rewarded, but her expression is like that of a criminal who is about to be executed. Now we have new servant data, which is actually kind of interesting since Shirou's not really here to pick that all up. But I might be getting confused here. Oh, god damn it. Well, we're back here. Okay, but first, servant data. Caster, yep. So now we truly do have her past in mind here. Medea? Is that how you pronounce it? It's definitely not Media. I think it's Medea. The Queen of Misfortune, labeled as a witch in Greek mythology. Jason, the famous hero in the Argo expedition, interrogated King Pelias, who stole the country from Jason's father, and made a promise that if he came back with the Golden Fleece after traveling to Colchis, King Pelias would return the country to him. The one who possessed the Golden Fleece was the princess of Colchis, Medea. Although she had learned magecraft as the daughter of King Aetus, I'm really, guessing with a lot of these pronunciations, who excelled in it, her personality was far from that of a witch. Her fate started to derail once the hero Jason appeared. The goddess Aphrodite supported Jason, and upon seeing that King Colchis was invincible, she controlled the mind of Medea, his daughter, and changed her into a girl who blindly loved Jason. As a result, Medea ended up betraying her father and her own country over a foreign man, Jason, whom she had never seen. Medea nullified her father's magecraft and the fire-breathing bowl woven with magecraft, allowing Jason to obtain the Golden Fleece. King Colchis was infuriated and went to battle himself to capture Jason so that he wouldn't be able to escape. To help Jason escape from his pursuit, Medea was used by the goddess again. Medea boarded the Argo, the ship of the man that she had loved but only knew by name, and slashed her younger brother, Asphyratus, again, really guessing on the pronunciations here, to pieces in front of her father in pursuit. So I think that goes back to what I think it was Archer had said yesterday, or the day prior in the previous episode. And the king mourned, ordering for the pieces of his torn son to be collected. The Argo escaped pursuit using that opening, and Jason safely returned to his homeland, Locos alive. Or, I'm sorry, that's, I guess that's an I, so Iolcos? Whatever. Upon arrival, Jason tried to get his country back from King Pelias, following through on both the promise and vengeance for his father. However, King Pelias refused and schemed to kill Jason. Jason escaped from a tight spot by relying on Medea's magecraft for the third time, and she devised a plan for him. They invited King Pelias and killed his servant. Medea revived them for her magecraft and offered to cast the spell of immortality on King Pelias as well. The king was pleased and willingly gave Medea his body. Naturally, he was slashed into pieces and thrown into the ocean. Jason thus became king, but his fellow Argonauts did not approve of Jason's actions and above all of Medea's very existence. She betrayed her country for a man, slashed her younger brother so that she would survive, and then she had deceived the king and usurped the throne. Medea was degraded as a witch and driven out of the country along with Jason. The two reached Corinth, where they had been greeted by the king of Corinth. In this land, Medea finally gained restful days. However, having been taken far away from her homeland and feared as a witch, the peace she finally obtained did not last long. The king of Corinth took a liking to Jason and decided to have him marry his daughter. Jason also chose the king's young daughter and exiled Medea. Her actions after that lived up to her name as a witch. Medea appeared at Jason's wedding and used magecraft, burning everyone in attendance, including the king of Corinth and his daughter, letting only Jason live, and she left the castle. The whereabouts of Medea, who left Corinth, are unknown. It is said that the princess whose life was filled with nothing but betraying others and being betrayed became a true witch and continued to wander the lands of Greece. Yeah, there was no way I was ever going to guess, I was never going to guess Castor's identity. Absolutely no way. I just don't know a whole lot of characters in any mythology. In anything, really. I just don't. I really don't. But it's all good. Okay, we'll wrap it up on that one, guys. Thank you all for tuning in. I hope you guys enjoyed. And it looks like as we get into the next episode, we're flashing right back to this this lovely moment, because we haven't done that in a while. And guess we're gonna go pay Ilya a visit, so that's fun. I'm looking forward to the next episode, actually. That seems to be an interesting time. Thank you all for tuning in. I hope you guys enjoyed. If you did, be sure to leave a like, subscribe, and I'll catch you guys in the next one. Take it easy.